We're here today to celebrate some work which has been done by a number of people in relation to water and support the Water Justice Hub. There are works today that have been done as a result of a community inquiry that was held in 2019, and that work celebrates the voices and the people around the Barker River, predominantly along the area between Wilkenya and Menindee, taking in the Menindee lakes, and speaking about the impact of water and the loss of water which occurred in 2019 and the decimation of the river and of the lakes. My art is to reflect my experience when I went to Wilkenya last year, just as the river was beginning to run, and then going to Wilkenya and spending time with students at the school and meeting with some of the locals and the elders, listening to what they had to say about water and watching the water beginning to flow back into the river and back into the lives of the people. So I have a series of sketches which reflects that from my point of view, not necessarily from the point of view of the local people. Water for our people is not simply about a resource. It holds our story. And for the people who live on the river, on the Barker, the Barkinji and others, the river is their central knowledge system. It is their system of sharing information, gaining information, and you can watch as the river begins to drop away, it takes something out of the people who are around it, and it begins to sap their energy because the river carries that within it. And to watch the river beginning to flow back and to watch people beginning to respond to that is really important. So it's one of the things that I'm here and doing with the Water Justice Hub and others is to get people to think differently about water, not just from a scientific or a practical or an agricultural or whatever, but to start to see it as another form of knowledge that we need to spend time with to understand. It's interesting, Toni Morrison, who was an African-American author, said that water has the perfect memory. It always wishes to return to where it was. So when we deplete or take away water, it remembers where it's supposed to be. So we might take away and divert water for other uses, but it knows it has a purpose somewhere else and it needs to get to that place. And I would say to those people who are part of this campus, think about the Sullivan Library and the recent water inside of that space, because it's built on where the water used to run. So the water, when it gets to a space that it wants to do something, remembers where it's supposed to be and goes back there. And it's interesting to watch as rivers come back, as the water begins to come back, it begins to bring with it all the life that belongs to it. So suddenly you start to see fish, suddenly you start to see turtles, suddenly you start to see life returning. So it remembers who it was and where it was, and it remembers what its purpose is. What I would like people to walk away from today is to understand water has its own value in its own way without anything being put upon it by us. And that we have to start to remember that we are indigenous of this universe and we are connected directly to things like water. And so the thing I'd like people to go away with is remembering we have a custodial responsibility for water. And if we look after it, it will indeed look after us. But if we keep shifting it, moving it, blocking it, harvesting it, selling it, it can't do that. So it's up to us to change the way we think about water, what we see about water. So that's the takeaway.